than 1 minute. When you close your eyes for less than 1 minute, we just try to feel with the blind people what they are facing every day, every moment. When we close our eyes, that means we try to be away from the daily life. I just try to walk. You cannot see that I am walking. While the blind people are walking every day, they are facing many objects in their life, beside them, behind them, in front of them, and they are in fact unable to detect these objects. I am a very peaceful object. I was just walking on. I didn't try to harm any one of you. But I just tried to do for one of the presenters here, I just tried to keep my eyes in front of her eyes. So when I said, okay, you open your eyes, she just can't see my eyes. And instead of that, she just can't imagine any harmful object. We just try to give a hand to these people. And in fact, the number of these people, the blind people, it's not a very small portion in our society. Sight is one of the senses that are given to us by Almighty God. And in fact, it's in the top of all senses. Before we try to touch anything, before we try to hear, before we try to eat something, we try to see it first. So the sight is the most important thing, and the communication process and the dissemination of information has become very fast on the wider scale. We try to use the technology to help these blind and impaired people. Blind people, as I said, part of this world, so the technology must leave a significant impact on their life. We try to use the technology in this sustainable future. We try to see how we can help these blind people, how we can help later on the deaf people, how we can help any one of these disabled people. The challenges faced by the impaired blind people in their daily life are not well understood. This paper, we just try to pay a very small participation in this field and try to see what the blind and impaired people they are facing in their daily life. According to the World Health Organization 2017, WHO, 285 million people are estimated to be visually impaired worldwide, 39 million are blind, and 246 have low vision. About 90% of the world visually impaired live in the low-income settings, where 82% of the people living with blindness are age 50 and above. And this one, in fact, gives us an important and a very strong motivation to try to explore this area. The people before, in fact, they try to do many ways to help the blind people, and one of the very common things, some of the people they are using the dogs to guide them and try to avoid the objects, and this is a very simple thing and very traditional method. The other, the white cane, also known as the hover cane, the solid guide, where it's like a glass that will be in the top of the head and keep capturing the images and the photos, and this will be depending on the database and the algorithm inside this technology. But this one, in fact, is over-consuming, and there is, in fact, more research about it. And when I cannot deny it is one of the very useful technologies to help the blind people. Our system, the smart shoes, in fact, is divided into two parts. The first one is the shoes itself, and the second one is the mobile phone. The mobile phone, in fact, this one just to enable and to disable the shoes system. The firstly, the blind person or the impaired person, he just need to, by the voice, or if he can see the button in the phone, he just can click on. So that means the system itself is starting on the shoes. Or by the voice command, he just can say on, the system directly will on the shoes. The system, as you can see, I'm not sure if it's clear or not. The system, we have here the Android application, and we have the beeper, and we have some of the sensors where we will be stuck on the shoes itself. And the end user, which is the blind people or the impaired person, he can connect between the shoes and the phone by using the Bluetooth, and he can turn on, he can turn off by the voice command or by the button in the system itself. And one of the features, we just try to use it to help the blind people. We just try to save the home location. So when he go, for example, like from the university or from the workplace, or for example from the home, he can save the current location, and later on, when he want to go back, he just can say, for example, like go back by the voice command or by clicking the button. Then the system, he will guide him in the way back to the place where he saved it at the first. This is, in fact, just, I'm very sorry about the picture. Suppose we have the video, but we were unable to get it. The shoes, we fix in fact the sensor and the right foot, where it will be on the right side, that will make or generate the signals. So there should be an object within like 2 meters. It will give the shoes will start vibrating. It will be 1 meter, that means the vibrating level will be more, and there will be in fact a beeping system. The more that speed, like half meter, the beep will be more and more. This will be to enable the blind and impaired person try to be away from that object. The same thing in fact on the left foot shoes, and there is one also in front. This one we try to do some testing for the system. So we try to give the system for 3 experts, and we try to offer it for some of the blind care centers, and we try to ask them to evaluate the system out of 10 for the heuristic testing method, the visibility of the system status, the match between system and real world, the user control, the usability, the usability of the system, and at the end we try to get out almost out of 166. 66% in fact is not that high percentage to say that our system is good. So in fact this one gives us also a strong motivation to improve our system more and more. And we try to ask around like 30 participants to test our system, and 30% that means 30 blind and impaired person. And the average that we get at like the default the time or the duration for to be familiar with the system, the time, and at the end we get the average, the default 40, for example some people they get 41, 50 they get less, more. After we receive the feedback, we put the conclusion for the system that there's no doubt that every project got some pros and some cons. And in this section, we mentioned the weakness of the smart shoes system. And one of the weaknesses in fact in this project is we just try to do it for compatible with Android. We need in fact to expand it to be working with iOS. The other thing, we just try to see that current systems that using the iOS and the Android, in fact, this is give the researchers and even the students, the people who are working in the computer science, in the engineering field, especially the working in the Arduino systems, to do more systems or to implement more technology systems for these people. We try to improve our system by avoiding the obstacles and the problems that we face in the smart shoes. Like some of the feedback, like if the blind person is working in the crowd. If you're working in the crowd, that means the whole time, the shoes will keep vibrating and beeping. If it will be raining. The other thing that if we have an object which is not on the floor itself, it's for example like 1 meter above the floor. In that case, we need more in fact improvement. So we try to do something else, but in fact we try to finalize it. So we came out with the hat. We try to just to make something we call smart hat, where for example we have some of the sensors where it will give the signals to the both sides, and the diagonal, or if I can say that the signals can go in many different directions. Can go straight, can go to the down, to the right, to the left, and give the blind person a warning before he tries to hit some of the objects in front or beside him. Thank you very much for listening, and if you have any question, you are most welcome. Thank you very much.
Yes, it's a great idea, but I think anyone, someone, somewhere, somehow, think about some ideas, technological ideas. Are you aware of what has been done before?
Yes, yes. In fact, I just tried to give just 2 examples here, but in the paper itself later, if you just try to get the book of the conference, you'll find in the paper itself, in fact, we have more examples. And we just try to explain. We are applying to get a fund for this research, to try to come out with a very good system. The previous work we explored it. I will not say that, for example, like 100% we are like exploring everything. But in terms of the technology, that there's improvement in the white cane, there's improvement in the sonic gear, and there's in fact more systems they try to come out with new ideas like what we did. You are not alone in this field, but we just try to give a hand. Thank you. Yes.
Like how?
Interesting project, but you know, I'm trying to be delicate in what I say now, but sometimes when you're walking, there are things in your path which you don't want to walk into. They could make your shoes very smelly and unpleasant. How can this technology avoid those things that you don't really want to walk into?
That's correct. That's correct. In fact, if we just can go back to the when I give this table, in fact, this one is done by 3 experts. And as you can see, in fact, this one out of 10. And out of 10, you can see like we just have a few heuristic levels that we score more than 5. Like some of the experts, they have the same idea as you said. Like if we have a hole, if we have, for example, some data things. That's right, we get an advice from some of them that the smart shoe is very good. But we need to pay more attention to what you are saying and to what the comment that they give to us. So that's why we say that smart shoes, it might help to be away from some of the objects, but to be good, we need in fact to come out with a higher level. Yeah. So one of the ideas that we think about it, we try to use the belt. Okay, the belt with some of the sensors. Then some of the belt, they said that, for example, if you have the object which is in fact higher than the belt, that's why we came out with the hand. We try to be away from the smart shoes.
What are you going to do with like the dog mess that's on the pavements? Because that's what we all worry about. So walking at night, you might walk into things that you don't want to do, and that's a real practical issue, isn't it? Because you know, it's bad enough when you're sighted and you walk into that stuff. If you're not sighted and you walk into that stuff, or there's sewage or what have you, that becomes a real issue. And I just wondered how you could include that within the tools to help people not walk where they don't want to walk. It's not just about objects, is it? It's not about you know, pavements or curbs or what have you. Sometimes there's detritus on the floor which you want to avoid.
Hopefully we cover that one in the, if I can say, in the next version of the paper. But in fact, we received plenty of the comments.
Okay, thank you.
And that's good. I am very thankful for your comment.
Okay.
And we keep it in our mind.
They put in there future development. That's the question.
I just want to ask you, like, what's the estimated cost of that? Assuming the shoes is good, how much would it be? Is the price going to be high? How much is it?
Okay. For the
consumer.
No, for the experiment purpose. In fact, it's the devices and the component that we are using it just cost. Okay, forget about the shoes. If you want to buy a Nike or Adidas or whatever, buy the cheap one. Yeah. But the component, it just cost in Jordanian dinar around 10 dinars. That's mean around like 4 or 5 Bahraini dinar.
Ah, good. Okay.
Okay, but this one is done by, like, just again for the experiment. In fact, even when we start this project, we in fact shocked because the cost. But the same component, this one, the same component. If you go, for example, like here in Bahrain, you want to buy it, the main chip controller, where we bought it there like around 2 Bahraini dinar in Jordan. Here you buy it almost like around 15 Bahraini dinar. So if there's a company, they want to adopt such kind of systems, when we come, for example, like for the industry, for sure it will be much cheaper.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now we return to the Julie.
Morning, take 2. My name is Julie Conley. Yes, and this is the first stage of my PhD work. So the paper is Facilities Management, Granularity of Information for Digital Information Platform. So we've been talking about BIM today, which is Building Information Modelling, geometric modelling with the database background. Facilities management is a UK term, predominantly. American, it's asset management. So it's how do you operate your building most effectively? What do you do? The granularity of information is, in terms of my project, is about what level of detail of the information and data do you need, do you actually need to operate? And EIR is employers' information requirements. This is a definition of part of the information schema that clients need to know. And the BEP, also known as BEP, is the BIM execution plan. And that is the response document from the procurement team to the employer's EIR. So, what is the problem? The BIM-FM gap. As was mentioned this morning, one of the keynote speakers, FM is not really engaged in this conversation about BIM at the beginning of design and construction. They are invited sometimes, they attend sometimes, but their input is not necessarily valued by the design team. So there is an issue of this bilateral communication between the two sets of professionals. Additionally, in the UK, all the standards address design and construction. Facilities management, it's been addressed in terms of renovation and new CapEx projects, but not for existing estate. The employer's information requirements, also again, was just touched on this morning. Clients don't really know what they need to know and how they need to deliver BIM. They have no idea. And to be quite frank, I think at the moment they're not interested. They're overloaded with requests for information, decision-making issues. And what happens with the facilities management side of things is there are data silos, which is where they have different pots of data which is essential to operate the service, but there is no connection between those pots of data. So they're losing out on accessing and maximising the potential for the data. And with regards to sustainable data, if you have digitised your data and you get into digitalisation of that data, it then becomes a very powerful asset for decision making. So facilities management, it's where the building is maintained by people for a core business. In terms of my research, I'm looking at healthcare facilities. Building information modelling, you get a nice geometric model, but that's not all it is. It is also about object-orientated information, and it's the database as well. So what are we looking at? As you can see in the graphic, there's lots of things going on, and that really does accurately describe facilities management. Each facilities management service is bespoke. There doesn't seem to be any consistency between operation, processes and procedures. And it's about collecting the data that they need to deliver their service. The issue for facilities management teams is that sometimes they are dealing with paper data and they're also dealing with digital data. Now for this paper, I researched the information modelling requirements, so it was about the EIR and the BEP. And I managed to collect a set of each, and as you can see, it was local government, higher education facilities, a government department, and I compared them against the standard templates that are available from the BIM task group, which were 2013. So they were free for people to use. And there is also the BEP, which is from the CPICS, again, free. So I had, as I said, EIRs and BEPs to compare, and those were the departments. So, FM teams have a lot of paper data because buildings are very old, or a lot of buildings are quite vintage, particularly in the UK. And then we have digital data, which is coming from BIM models. So FM teams have to map a path through dealing with paper data and digital data. At the moment, they're running both in parallel, which presents huge issues. So the data continuum is about how do you have the right data that you need to deliver your service, and not too much data that you're drowning in it. It's about usable data as well. How can you use it and be proactive with it? So the standard effect is about how we have standards in the UK, as I said, for design and construction, but there is no standard for what I'm terming legacy FM, which is the existing estate. Clients are very reluctant to engage because there is no roadmap and there are no examples, concrete examples of how to do this. There have been lots of pilot projects, but for some reason they seem to falter. The REVA survey of 2017 suggested that 72% of clients do not understand the benefits of BIM. And clients are the driving force between getting BIM FM specified and achieving a sufficiently detailed specification so that it becomes useful. So what we have is that we have a very good set of standards for design and construction renovation, but nothing on how do you figure it out if you've got legacy estate. So this slide shows all the information requirements that a client needs to generate. And in the UK we have a quiz where they start with, your starter for 10, can you name any one of these acronyms? No. So we know our stuff, some of us do. So the client is on an uphill battle anyway, and BIM is famous for acronyms, there's a lot. So we have plain language questions, which is to help the client ascertain what do they need. We have organisation requirements, which is a high-level strategic information. We have asset information requirements. What do the facilities department guys want to run their facilities? Employers information requirements. Again, what do I as a client want from you, the procurement team? And you have a BIM execution plan which tells you what the procurement team is going to deliver to the client. And it goes on. So we have a project information model which should inform the asset information model, which then should inform the facilities and estates team's data. It's very complicated. So the findings were that whilst everyone took the template and used the headings, there was a significant amount of adaptation that was undertaken by clients to the template. Lots of changes, lots of different clauses, there was no consistency across the board, and in particular, they were very keen, the high peaks towards the left are standards, roles and responsibilities, and planning, work, and data segregation. So there was a lot of adaptation for those aspects in the template. So as a conclusion, what's the ideal? The ideal is to transfer the paper data into digitized data so that you take all your data and you've got able to then use it through data analytics, engagement with a database, and you can then start to get into big data and smart cities. It is the fourth industrial revolution. As always, construction is a little bit behind, but it does offer a potential solution to this paper trail where facilities management departments have paper in a room, and it's a big room. Trying to get away from that is what I'm researching. because I do believe that it will deliver operational flexibility for the future and different FM service delivery models. Thank you very much.
It's not so much a question, but an observation. This rings very true to me as a higher education administrator. I was involved for 4 years in the project to upgrade the University of Oxford's student administration system, and by which I mean introduce a system that would operate across the university administration and all 39 colleges. And when you say paper data, oh boy, paper data. And I think the biggest challenge, as you identify, is moving the legacy data over and having the involvement between the users and the design team to make sure they're talking to each other. For me, what I know, universities, there's a small number, they all have similar challenges of a different order depending on how late they've waited to do this thing. In the construction industry, you know, a multiplicity of operators. Yeah. And that's why the collaboration with the academic field is so good, I think, because there's a lot of models that can be helpful, as well as what you're doing on the research side. But I would warmly recommend contact with the administration teams who've done this kind of operation, in some cases many times.
Yeah. Thank you for your advice. That's great. I mean, yes, I have to get into, I've got case studies to do, so I'm going into FM teams to actually find out what data, and I use this word advisedly, that they are hoarding, because there seems to be this issue of it's data, it's about the building, we can't throw it away. And I happen to know that there is a hospital in the UK that was built in 1828 and they still have some paper on it.
Have you explored, for example, heritage projects, so cathedrals and things like that, where a lot of them go through massive refurbishment programs, because there's an opportunity to actually create the new data as you're doing the project, because it supersedes some of the old stuff. And I know my current president, there used to be superintendent of works at York Minster, and they took the opportunity through those works to get into laser mapping of the Minster and really create a bin type model for the Minster to make it easier both to do the restoration work they're doing, but also enable the future people running the Minster to keep on top of it. So there are some opportunities where actually you can start again rather than translate all this paper into IT. You might just say, well, because that just seems to me like a lot of work for nothing. Why don't you just sort of remap it and start from scratch? Yeah.
But not all hospitals have that budget. I mean, you're talking about what's known as HBID, historic bin.
Yeah.
And again, that's very well catered for in the standards as they exist at the moment. But if you've got legacy estate and you have no funding to do anything extra apart from your service delivery, then for hospitals in the NHS in England, it is really key to try and do this as low cost as possible, with as low impact on the service delivery, using whatever methods I could dream up and what other people have also promoted and researched. It is a question of trying to help them migrate from paper-based to digital, and they're also in the position of they have the bin models coming in and they have no idea what to do with them. So you have also two systems operating in parallel as well, which is far too much workload.
That begs the question whether it's appropriate to be using 1922 hospital providing medical services in the 21st century, and again, you might as well the sensible thing would be knock that down and start again. But there are funding constraints, obviously.
There are funding constraints, yes, and they have to operate within the environment that they've got.
But I suspect the revenue cost of operating a facility like that is far more than the total life cost of knocking something down and building a new one.
Yeah, we need to go and talk to the health secretary. But yes, it comes down to funding at the end of the day to help FM teams try and figure out how to work with what they've got, knowing that they potentially won't be able to access and build new, which is obviously would be a better idea with the vintage estate. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is the end of our session. Thank you for all the researchers and the presenters. Thank you for the audience. Thank you very much. We enjoy the conference.
Yeah, probably you know me from my bio, so I don't need to talk much about myself. So, in today's sessions we'll have about 4 speakers. One of them is going to be represented by Professor Billy. He's going to be talking about the representing Bimal, Professor Bimal Kumar. Okay. So, we're going to start our session today with Ana Carolina Rodriguez. She's a Dominican architect with MSc in Building Information Modeling for integrated construction and currently a PhD candidate of the Built Environment in the University of Wolverhampton in the UK. Her research, decision support, toolkit to implement building information modeling in the Dominican Republic, looks into the construction industry and the building information modeling awarenesses and implementation of the aforementioned country with the aim of proposing toolkit to implement a building information modeling to improve current traditional construction practices. So I'm glad actually to introduce Anna. So please welcome her for her first presentation about the Dominican Republic and the building information management.
I think, like, should I move the
Can I
laptop?
just, sorry?
Should I move the laptop again?
Yes, you can use this one. Can I remind you, the speakers, just only the presentation time only for 10 minutes, followed by 5 minutes questions, okay?
Good afternoon. My name is Ana Carolina Silverio Rodriguez, and I will be presenting the paper Building Information Management Education in the Dominican Republic, an empirical study. First of all, it is important to point out that this is part of an ongoing research on my country. The title is Decision Support Toolkit to Implement BIM in the Dominican Republic. Why am I researching on that? First of all, the Dominican construction industry is a very important pillar of the economy of the country. However, there are a lot of deficiencies, mainly lacking qualified workforce and also lacking innovative and efficient construction techniques. There are different recommendations to overcome these deficiencies, such as implement technologies to improve communication among stakeholders, have better control of different disciplines that are part of a project, reduce the response time, get precise and reliable data, and last but not least, facilitate and make construction processes more efficient and sustainable. For that reason, this research is proposing a wide implementation of BIM in the country so we can overcome all these challenges. This research has a very important challenge, and is that currently the status of BIM implementation in the country is unknown. That was identified in the literature review, which showed not only a scarcity on BIM implementation, but also a scarcity of information in the construction industry in general in the country. Therefore, I have to adopt a qualitative approach in order to explore these unknown aspects. The research technique was semi-structured interviews, and these are other details about the methodology that I implemented. The data collection phase was done. The data collection was done in 2 phases: a preliminary study and a main study. The preliminary study was conducted in January 2016, And it mainly shows patterns of the way of work of the Dominican Republic, which are not shown in any literature yet. Concerning BIM, I could see the levels of BIM awareness and implementation, which were low. However, the interest is quite high, and I identify different challenges as to BIM implementation. The findings of this pilot categorize the country as a BIM income country, which is a country that is not implementing BIM. However, they have interest in implementing BIM in a near future. A very important topic that arose in this first data collection was the thing of BIM education. Lack of being a skilled personnel was identified as a very important challenge for them to implement BIM. And also, there were positive indicators about BIM education. One interviewee talked about one training center that was teaching about BIM, and another interviewee talked about the interest of integrating BIM in one university curriculum. Well, everyone knows how important is BIM nowadays. The use of BIM, of course, is demanding being skilled professionals. However, the lack of being a skilled personnel is a universal challenge. It's not only in infant countries such as the DR. And the solution is, of course, the provision of BIM education. That's why it was very important for me to also cover this aspect. As per Smith 2014, BIM education, BIM training, and BIM research are very vital practices to propel the implementation of BIM in a country. Therefore, I wanted to look into that. The BIM education providers, the main one is academia, which offers BIM education, and the rest, industry, software providers, and others, mainly offer BIM training, which is a complementary part of BIM education. Well, the main study, because of the BIM target of BIM education, I had to have two directions. I interview construction organizations and BIM education providers, and I will show you today my findings of these interviews that I did to BIM education providers. The criteria was identifying any person related to delivering BIM knowledge in the country. And I found these people which were mainly civil engineers and architects, and they belong to training centers, universities, professional bodies, and they were also independent professionals. The key findings are shortage of BIM experts, lack of BIM education, dissemination of BIM knowledge, and future strategies as to BIM implementation. I will show you these findings now. First of all, it was not a surprise that there was shortage of BIM experts. This is something that is being pointed out because BIM is relatively new and is still progressing in the industry. You can find this lack even in BIM leader countries. From the interviewees, only 67% identifying themselves as BIM experts. The rest, they do not deliver the knowledge, but they support BIM education activities. Another thing was lack of BIM education. There is no BIM. Sorry. Hello? Okay. There is no BIM education in academia. There is mainly presence of BIM training. This affects not only the professionals of the construction industry, but also these people that are involved in the delivery of BIM knowledge. Only one of them has a higher education certification, a master, and it was in the UK, not even in the Dominican Republic. The type of training found in the country were software training and diploma courses. Software courses are the most common training. However, they are not very focused on BIM. That's one of the challenges. Diploma courses are the most formal training related to BIM implementation that are delivered in my country. They are not delivered regularly. You can see every now and then some BIM diploma courses, and they tend to be focused on software. However, they also show some other aspects of BIM. When the investigation was conducted, there were found 2 diploma courses from 2 important universities of the capital of the country. Here there are the flyers advertising these 2 diploma courses, which were delivered in 2013. The first diploma course was delivered with an American university, and the second one was delivered by a Dominican architect. They